Payton Thorne from Michigan State, along with Keon Coleman from Louisiana.
Oh, now I know why you wanted to talk about this.
No,
Now I
it's a
know why
big
you
deal.
wanted to
It's
talk
a big
about it.
deal. It's a
I
big
know.
deal. Don't act
I
like
know.
this
I'm just
isn't a
kidding.
big deal.
I'm just kidding. He's a very talented
Let me
receiver.
tell you what I'm hearing out of East Lansing. I talked to a beat writer there today, one of my good
Okay.
buddies. He basically told me that Mel Tucker's losing it. So Keon Coleman, the receiver, their best wide receiver, Joe, I literally do think that he could play for all 130 teams without question. He could go wherever he wanted, and he could maybe not be the guy, but be a key contributor.
Yes.
This is what I was told, is that Keon Coleman had told some people around Michigan State that he wanted to enter the portal because he did not want to play with Payton Thorne anymore. He wanted to expand his draft status. Okay. Well, then Payton Thorne gets word of this and says, well, hell, if he's hitting the portal, I've already lost my 3 top weapons. I'm going to hit the portal. And now Michigan State's battling to get Keon Coleman back because Payton Thorne won't be there. Let me just say this. I actually like Payton Thorne. He was banged up a lot last year. He didn't have a lot of help. They gave him zero help outside of Keon Coleman. His offensive line stunk. He didn't have a running game. I think they were second or third in drops in the Big Ten. They were a horrible offensive team. Payton Thorne was the only reason that they actually scored, believe it or not. He had a little bit of a drop off, but when he had some protection and he had Kenneth Walker, he had a really good season. I think it's a deeper thing than this, though. I think that the Payton Thorne thing and Keon Coleman is more of a sign that people don't really like Mel Tucker.
Well, with the amount of look, the guy's an egotist. I'm just going to be straight blunt here, and I know that I don't personally know him, but from what you hear when you speak to individual people associated with the program, and then also you hear some of these murmurs, and then there were pieces written about him at the end of the college football season with the whole fight that broke out, all of this stuff. It's clearly a lack of control of the program. And then there's the whole weird layer to this of Mel Tucker having all this extra money to spend on giving money to his assistants, and then he pocketed all of it. I know that's alleged. That's alleged, but if there is truth to that, man, dude, this is a problem. You just paid this guy for the next 9 seasons, and this is the result that you're getting. Yeah, I don't know. This is bad.
It's not like they can move on from him. They would legitimately have to pay a king's ransom to get rid of him.
This is why, and this is I don't know if you're going to agree with this or not, but this is why, if other teams are interested in your coach after the first in the initial contract, don't get duped into it. Don't get duped into it. I know that you really badly want to keep someone.
And Joe, you might not remember this. I know for a fact that Scott Woodward at LSU literally was going in the Midwest telling people that he was going to give Brian Kelly $100 million, which they are his, not Brian Kelly, but his coach. Yes. He had told people because he wanted things like the Mel Tucker thing to happen. Okay. Yes. I know. And you're not going to believe me, and nobody will believe me. But the real people know. The real people know. LSU offered a coach in the SEC $200 million guaranteed.
Wait, who was that? I'm not. Are you talking about Nicholas? But
that's a rumor. Let me clarify. That's a rumor.
But I think my point very clearly stands here, though. This is what happens when you let other people dictate the market for your coach. If somebody's willing to pay that much money, you might really like a coach, and he might be really great for your program. But holy hell, this is what happens. Because on top of that, when have these long-term contracts just very rarely work out when there's not enough evidence to support long-term sustained success? Brian Kelly works because he had success in Notre Dame.
Well, and I wasn't even going to go him. Where I was going to go is take him out of it. Kirby, Saban, Riley, Stoops, Meyer. I mean, you're going to hate this one. You ready for this? You're going to hate this one. even Franklin. I mean, look, James Franklin's winning 9.5 games a year. But he's not getting,
all right. That's better than Mel Tucker.
well, and he's not getting paid like the Saban and Kellys of the world either. He's just not. So you get my point. The coaches that have won elsewhere Kirby is the only outlier, but he's not really an outlier because in year 2 he got to a national championship and he just won back to back. Dabo, for crying out loud. I mean, there are a lot of coaches that have gotten long contracts that have shown it more than one season. And I think for Mel Tucker's case, Payton Thorne and Keon Coleman. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I know for an outright fact, 10 SEC schools has reached out to Keon Coleman. I know it for
surprise me. He's a good athlete.
He's 6'4", 210, 215. Dude was a beast. I covered the kid when he was in Louisiana. I thought that they should have.
Why did he go to Michigan State?
Great story. That's what I was getting to.
Okay.
He was a COVID senior, and LSU went, and Orgeron went with the star chasing and all that kind of stuff, and the kid wound up not getting an offer because he couldn't get seen, and he didn't even visit anywhere. And look, that stinks for him because he didn't have the ability to show that he could showcase himself. And that's what a lot of receivers do. They could go out there and showcase themselves. My only thing is for Michigan State, man, it's only good. Trust me, I've been down this road with Orgeron. It can only be worse. It can only get
absolutely.
worse.
And I think Jimbo's another really good example for this too, that he obviously won a national championship at FSU, but him transitioning to Texas A&M.
No, he's still winning 8.7 games per season. As crazy as that sounds.
Which is nuts. One thing though, and I know that we're kind of coming up at the end here. I have been trying to find what are the offers right now out here for Payton Thorne, and maybe I'm not looking in the right places. I'm really curious. Yeah, I'm curious to see where he ends up. I think that we spoke on this. We spoke on the concern for Florida's situation, and before Buckner ended up at Alabama, we spoke on these teams that have an unsatisfied, unsettled quarterback situation. They need to just go after a veteran starter with experience, because a guy with experience that has played slightly above average, like Payton Thorne, can do wonders in the SEC. I think on this Florida roster that has improved, but still does not have a quarterback, I take Payton Thorne over Graham Mertz any day. Graham Mertz has never been average. He's been below average, up and down his whole time at Wisconsin. They need to get somebody like Payton Thorne. I really think that Florida is the one to pay attention to.